Hi everyone, Shannon with Apogee of the Moon, bringing you another weekly forecast. This week we're going to change it up a little bit, and I'm going to go through each sign individually, but for the beginning part of this broadcast, I am going to be going over the general energies and just how they're going to look, and then I'll go through each sign and where you'll be impacted by the specific energies going on. So this is the 19th through the 25th. And there's no exact aspects until Monday the 21st, where Mercury is going to be starting its square with Pluto, and Pluto is retrograde. Now, Mercury in square with Pluto, this is a hard aspect to Pluto, and this is bringing us under pressure to actualize what we have seeded at the new moon earlier. And actually, as I'm recording this, the new moon is going to be coming exact here in about 45 minutes. What intention, right? So with this Mercury square Pluto retrograde, what intention did we want to realize over the next coming months? What concept, what physicality do we want to achieve? What do we want to bring from conceptualizing in our mind down to physical reality in the here and the now? What alchemy do we want to perform? Pluto says to dive in. Pluto and Mercury in square are digging into those finite details and merging with your conscious mind in such a way as to become what you want to create in the world. This is diligence. This is just complete obliteration of the thoughts and the actions and the feelings that no longer serve you on your journey. This is ridding yourself of those thought processes that don't serve you. This is asking you what it is that you need to let go of in your thought processes to move forward with your goals and intentions. So Pluto's saying, do it already. And that's pretty much what this aspect is asking of you. So the question that you need to ask yourself, are you ready for this? So then we enter on Tuesday, and Tuesday is when the sun actually enters Libra. So this is the autumnal equinox, Maban. I mean, it depends on who you are and what you celebrate. The autumnal equinox is coming back into balance in terms of the masculine and the feminine energies within us, out in the collective, and that kind of thing, right? So this can also see us starting to take a really long, hard look at our shadows. And I don't want to say that and sound mainstream, because apparently shadows are now mainstream. I didn't know that was a thing until I recently had a conversation with someone about this. And the things like, it's your inner demons, it's that inner negative self-talk. It's that, this is balancing that against the light that you have within you, that pure spark of energy that you have within you and your conscious mind. So what this is asking, when the sun enters Libra, this is a winding down. Technically, the sun is in detriment or in fall in Libra. So it's at this time of year, this is the time of year, the autumnal equinox, the fall equinox, Maban, whatever you want to call it. This is all things death and dying. So the fall time, as we're entering into, because all cardinal signs herald the changing of the season, and so Libra is the fall time. And the fall is when the sun is weakening and lowering in the northern hemisphere and getting stronger in the southern hemisphere. So it's a little bit different if you live on the northern part of the world or the southern part of the world. So I'm going to be talking about the north because that's where I live. So what this is you see the leaves changing color. You see the leaves turning these bright gold, orange, yellow colors, right? You see, like someone called them once a long time ago, the fruity pebbles, right? We were on a lake, it was fall time, and we could see just this array of gorgeous rainbow colors on the mountains. And the woman I was with said, yeah, it's fruity pebbles. So it's that time of year where it's almost like the leaves are paying homage to the sun and saying, look, we're just as bright, and we see you. Okay. And this is also showing us that to walk away from the past to shed the things that no longer serve us going forward into these winter months, into these darker days, that it can be beautiful. It can be very transformative and very beautiful. And that's what this sun in Libra is really about. So the air itself turns biting this time of year, right? The smells of fall have always been exciting, and the crispness in the air is just, you can feel it. And if you're paying attention, you can feel that there's something inside of you that's waking up. And it's weird. So maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'll put this out there for people. For me, I know that when fall hits, I can feel the change in my bones. And it's not that, you know, I have arthritis or anything like that, which I don't. It's just, if you're truly in nature and paying attention to what's going on with the rhythms of the earth itself, you can feel the change coming. You can feel the sleepiness. You can feel that kind of energy where it's coming into quietness. It's coming back. And I mean, I felt this a few weeks ago, and it's funny because the first time I ever felt the changing of the season, it was actually springtime. And this was a couple years ago. And I'm like, oh, I feel more alive. I feel, you know. And now though, we can feel that almost like a thinning of the veil, right? Because as we come into the fall time, what do we have? We have all of the celebrations of the dead. We have, you know, the Day of the Dead. We have Halloween, Samhain, you know, Samhain, however, whatever you celebrate, you know, there's still this air of darkness. There's this edginess to it. So this can see shadows in our minds coming alive and sitting up and taking notice when the sun moves to this part of the sky. And there's a shedding of the past that happens here. This is moving towards that energy of the crone. And the land becomes sallow, becomes barren. It's no longer producing. There's no more hot days. There's no more fun and no more heat. This is a time to focus, though, on what it is that you want to still carry forward with you, because over the coming months, there can feel like a burdensome energy in terms of what you're carrying with you. So this is also a time when we face our deepest shadows and our darkest truths, because this is the quiet time, right? The quiet place. Not like the movie, which I have not seen yet because I'm afraid to watch it. So the question is, what did we learn this year? So where is it that we can stand in integrity and integrate that part of ourselves moving forward into these dark days to carry us through until the birth of the sun, right? So, and that will be 3 days past the solstice time, right? So the solstice is, you know, depending on the years, depending on when it happens, it's 3 days past. So it could be anywhere from the 23rd, 24th, 25th of December, that the sun physically moves and is rebirthed into the world. So pretty much what this is saying is you use it or lose it until next year. So that's the sun. That's my take on the sun and my history and my past with feeling out this time of year, especially. Now, on Wednesday and Thursday, there's going to be a really hard aspect that we're going to have to go through. And this is going to be very telling what we're going to be facing over the coming weeks as Mercury goes retrograde and as there's these T-squares going on in the cardinal signs. So on Wednesday, Mercury comes into its square with Saturn retrograde. Mercury now is entering its shadow period. So at 25 degrees of Libra, this is where Mercury, you know, is going to station. This is where Mercury, at the end of the retrograde of Mercury coming up here in the coming months, this is where Mercury is going to station to go direct. So this is kind of a important thing to look at in terms, of what it is that you're facing. And to give you an example, my husband is a Virgo rising and his midhaven point is in Gemini. Mercury rules him, but it also rules his career. So how he shows up in the world at large and how he's viewed. He just told me that there's going to be somebody that's going to be taking 3 weeks off starting next week. And so what that means is that he is going to have to cover this other person's job while this guy is out. So in essence, he is forewarned. He actually was forewarned yesterday, and he told me about it, and I laughed. And it's an ongoing struggle. He doesn't want to believe in astrology, but when I tell him things are going to happen and then they happen, he gets really frustrated with me. So what's happening is that he's going to have to change his schedule at work. And so there's that Mercury retrograde. We're coming into the shadow period next week, and it's starting next week for him. So I found that very amusing, and I laugh at him every time, and he hates that. So I just wanted to kind of touch base on that and give you a real life example of how Mercury shadow and Mercury retrograde can work for people that are either ruled by Mercury or their 10th house is ruled by Mercury. So that means whatever's coming up for us, whatever obstacles we face on that day and really all next week, we'll be revisiting over the coming month as Mercury stations in Scorpio and on the 14th of October and moves back to these degrees in Libra. So Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde on October 14th at 11 degrees of Scorpio. So wherever this shows up for you in your chart, and then dipping back to 25 degrees of Libra at the end of its retrograde period and going direct on November 4th. So pay attention. So on that note, on the next day, on Thursday, we will also have an opposition to Mars retrograde. Now, because it's so close in terms of degrees and it's only a day apart, what this is doing is this is forming a T-square, a point of intensity in your chart or in the energies as they are seen in the sky that cannot be ignored. So this is coming to a head and needs to be balanced. And there are some, some things in astrology where, some people say, some schools of astrology say that if you have a T-square, you want to look to the opposite sign. So in this case, there is an opposition in Mars and Libra with the square to Capricorn. You want to look to the sign of Cancer if you have any planets or points there. For me, I would say I would want to go trine or sextile. So this would be if you have any planets or points in Taurus or Virgo, you want to look to those for relief valve kind of things. Or you want to look to Pisces or Scorpio in terms of the sextile to this Capricorn energy if you have any planets or points in those signs. Just because this is the beginning of it, right? This is the long, grinding, annoying energy, oppressive energy that we're going to be facing over the next coming, couple of months, really until the end of the year. And so what this energy can do though is this can really see people digging their heels in and doing the work, and this creates a more determined, a stronger energy in terms of being more determined and being focused and fixed on what you want to do. And this is really, I just see us adapting and overcoming over the coming months. That's the sense that I get with this energy and how I'm looking at the patterns and the symbols. It's just the way of being human. When there's huge upheavals, what do? We adapt and we overcome. So to me, that's really what the highest expression of this energy can be us adapting and overcoming what is going to be coming at us. And it's what we do. And we just need to be cognizant of the fact that this too shall pass in terms of the astrology, right? Because we're coming to the end of Saturn in Capricorn. We're coming to the end of Jupiter in Capricorn. Mars is going to be going direct and moving on out of Aries. And then, after, October 22nd, 23rd, the sun is going to be moving into Scorpio. So there's going to be some interesting things going on. Obviously, the energy is going to be shifting and changing. But I feel that ultimately this can be a positive. So with all that being said and the general overview of this energy, let's move on to each sign. So I will start the presentation here. So for Aries and Aries rising, the energy of this T-square, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on because this is kind of going to be an extended energy in terms of, even though Mercury is going to be moving into Scorpio, it's going to be coming back out of Scorpio and into Libra. So this is going to be kind of an extended T-square. So this affects your 1st, your 10th, and your 7th, and the focal point is your 10th house. So there's something that you need to balance in terms of you yourself, your physical body, your physical health, your relationships, your clients, your one-on-one relationships, maybe your husband or your wife, or your business contracts or your partners. And the T-square is going to be up in your 10th house. So what this is this is kind of like a pressure point in terms of how you show up in the world, what your legacy is going to be when you're gone, you know, how the world views you. There could be massive change that's been going on, and now we're coming to a head in terms of there's something that needs to be reevaluated, revamped, redone, because both Mars and Saturn are retrograde. Saturn next week will be going direct. However, the fact that it's stationing creates this heaviness in this area of your chart, and this is the last time you're going to be facing it, you know, for the next 30 years. So there's kind of this, you need to do what you need to do one final time, and if you don't do it, you miss out on the opportunity. So I would say definitely focus on 10th house things. This is your career, this is your legacy, this is how you show up in the world and how the world views you in terms of out in the public, right? So this is your last chance to really hone in and change what needs to be changed to be able to show up how you want to show up. Because Mars is in your 1st house. Mars rules you. It's retrograde. You're changing yourself. You're changing your career. Mercury is now in shadow. You're changing your relationships. Your mind is on relationships and all things relationship oriented. So this is a time where you could see some really big upheaval, and you yourself are changing, and you're changing those other 3 aspects. And by default, your 4th house is going to change too. What you come home to is going to change. So if you need to focus on something, I would say definitely focus on what you're coming home to, right? If you're so stressed out in the world at large and you're stressed out in your relationships, focus on that home and family. Focus on, you know, on being present with your family and being that protector that are Aries, you know, because only you can do what you do, Aries. I mean, my dad's an Aries, my husband's an Aries, you know, they are the protectors. They are the ones that get stuff done and make sure, you know, I mean, that's my husband's sun sign. My father's an Aries rising, so he's ruled by Mars. But, you know, it shows up in different ways. So by all means, if you're an Aries rising, Aries sun, Aries moon, you know, this is your last chance to really revamp things and show up in a different way and show up in a present way. So Aries, do it. So for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this T-square is focusing on your 9th house from your 12th and your 6th. So there's a push and a pull between how you are being of service to others, or your daily routines, or even your health. Maybe your health is suffering. And kind of, see, to me, this would be an addiction. This would be an addiction pattern. This, you know, would be maybe with the T-square focusing on your 9th house, this would be maybe changing your mindset of the broader picture of the world and understanding that not everyone has their shit together, right? And I don't mean to say it that way, but I mean, really, ultimately, Taurus, you guys are so grounded. You're having a bit of an upheaval with Uranus, you know, either coming through your ascendant, coming for your sun, coming for your moon, whatever, what have you. But you guys are grounded. You guys are stable. And depending if you're N degrees of Taurus rising, sun, or moon, you're in trine with this energy in Capricorn. So you understand how to mitigate some of these more negative aspects. But at the same time, this can be you focusing or this could be something happening in your life that changes your whole worldview. That, you know, you're going through some type of a crisis, you've been going through some type of crisis, and you understand that, you know, there's addiction out there. There's, you know, there are things that there's endings that need to happen. There's changes that need to be made in terms of how you show up in service. And this ultimately could change your whole world view. So there is that. And that's what this T-square is really asking. You know, change it. You know, get really deep with yourself and really understand where your addictions are and what they are and how you can change your habits and your routines to change those addiction patterns, and also change your worldview and be more cognizant of how you're showing up. There's that. So for Gemini and Gemini rising, the focus here is on your 8th house. So the 11th house is your social circles and your friends, and this is where Mars is, this is where Aries is in your chart, and your 5th house of romantic partnerships, romantic partnerships. There could be a push-pull between the things that you want to do because you love to do them and your social circles and the people that you associate with. There could be a little bit of a disconnect. And then there's this hard aspect to your 8th house of joint finances, taxes, inheritances, sex, money, you know, all of that. There could be maybe some issues going on in terms of maybe something happens with, you know, a romantic partnership that causes you to have to revamp your income a little bit. Maybe there's money that's supposed to be coming in and it's not coming in. Maybe there's, you know, delays. Maybe there's things that are not happening in a timely manner because, I mean, you're Gemini and you like things quick. You're ruled by Mercury. So really too, pay attention to what's going on for you in terms, especially in terms of that 5th house, because it's going to dip into the 6th house and then come back into the 5th. So be cognizant that there's going to be, with this Mercury going retrograde, there's going to be some issues around how you're showing up in service of others and your hobbies, your children, your, you know, the things that you love to do. And then that 8th house of, you know, it's be gentle with yourself and be understanding with yourself, and also understand that, you know, everyone has trauma. Everyone has things that hurt them. Everyone is hurt in some way, shape, or form. I mean, especially now in this year and what we've been going through. So be cognizant of that, and just, you know, make sure that you're focusing on what you need to do. If there's, you know, anyone that you've been working on, someone that passed away and you've been dealing with their estate, know that this is going to be coming to a head over the coming weeks. And it's going to require you to really buckle down and be understanding and really change the way you think about taking care of other people and money situations. So for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this T-square is focusing on your 7th house of relationships. So whatever's been going on here over the past couple of years, it's coming to a head. So this could be a push-pull between, you know, Mars in your 10th house and Mercury in your 4th house in shadow period. There's this push-pull there between how you're showing up in the world, what you're coming home to, and then those close personal one-on-one relationships. I mean, Cancer has been going through this. I'm a Cancer sun. Cancer has been going through this for the last few years with Saturn here. I mean, Saturn, yes, this is its home sign, depending on how your planets are set up in your chart as well. I mean, this can see people, it could see things coming to a head in terms of the people that you have been nixing out of your life. It could see things coming to a head of, you know, maybe, I just don't know, with Mars retrograde, if, you know, you're pulling the trigger on a divorce, maybe you ought to think about that a little bit and, you know, be understanding and make sure you're staying in the moment and being calm and responding and not reacting, Cancer. to other people and flying off, you know, like, I don't want to say flying off the handle because not all cancers are the same, right? But at the same time, if you're N degrees Cancer, the last decan from, you know, 20 to 30 degrees, this is really going to be affecting you hardcore. You're going to be under a lot of pressure to make the decisions that you need to make in terms of your relationships with other people, and walking away and putting down what no longer serves you there. And this is the final time, because Saturn is going to be going direct, and he's going to be moving on out of your 7th house, and he's not going to be back there for another 30 years. So what relationships are you going to take forward with you, and what relationships are you going to just, you know, drop and walk away from? You know, as much as it hurts to say that, you need to make the decision. You yourself need to make the decision. For Leo and for Leo rising, so this T-square is focusing on your 6th house of your health, your well-being, your daily routines, your work routines. And you can see a push-pull between your belief systems and how you communicate how you communicate with other people, or even physically your voice. And I know for me, because I am a Leo rising, my sun is in Cancer, but I have a stellium in Libra, and every year I felt it as soon as Mercury hit Libra. I'm like, oh yeah, I can feel it. I got the throat tickle, and it happens every year. And I'm glad. Trust me, I am very glad of how this shows up in my chart. I would rather have it show up that way than the other ways that it can express, because I've also been through the other ways that it can express, and it's not fun. I'd rather have this. I'd rather lose my voice and, you know, be a little sickly than the other ways it can express. So with that being said, though, this is focusing on your daily routines. This is focusing on your work routines. This is your health, your wellness, how you show up in service of other people. So there can be something that you've been trying to change. You yourself have been trying to change in this sector of your life, in this 6th house, for the last couple of years. It's coming to a head. It's coming to a boiling point. It's coming, you know, it's going to happen. But there's going to be some crisis that's going to come up. There's going to be, you know, this is the final time that you have to change this. And it's going to affect your belief systems are under review right now, because Mars is retrograde there. And your 3rd house of how you think and how you communicate and how you show up in terms of your community is going to be under revision very soon too, with Mercury going retrograde and coming back into your 3rd house and making this T-square again later on. So Leos, get your together. Let's do this. Virgo and Virgo rising. So this T-square is happening in your 5th house. This is, sorry, I just thought I heard one of my children. So by the way, I get up really super early, and I record these before anybody gets up, and before I start my actual daily routine and job. So I thought I just heard something, but again, it's the weird music that happens. So for Virgo and for Virgo rising, I'm sorry, I'm a little kooky, but Virgo and Virgo rising, I'm sorry. This T-square is focusing on your hobbies, your love affairs, your children, your sexy romance, right? So there's something that you've been trying to change over the last several years with Saturn here, in terms of the things that you love to do because you love to do them. And that's coming to a head this fall. So we have the push-pull between your 2nd house of your resources, your value systems, how you make your money, and your 8th house of your joint finances, other people's money, you know, your partner's money, you know, things coming in, taxes, debts, insurances, things like this. And there's this push-pull there. And it's really asking you to buckle down and really hone in on what it is that you're doing creatively, and really ask for help in terms of, your social groups. This would be really good for Virgos, especially the social groups. I mean, Virgo rising has 11th house in Cancer, right? So if you have social groups, sorry, hold on, I can't speak. I need to take another drink. All of a sudden I can't speak. Virgos, you're getting the brunt of my third house issues. Okay, so where are we here? Let's get back in here. So use your social groups. I would definitely say that you can do that to pull in some understanding and some maybe different ways of thinking with your social groups, that Cancer energy in your 11th house. And you know, you're going to have some issues going on in your 5th house with, you know, it's the last time that you yourself can do something, especially if you're end degrees Virgo. If you're anywhere in that last decan between 20 and 30, you can change, you can focus on, and you can really hone in on the things that you love to do and your hobbies and your routines and things that you, hobbies and routines, your hobbies and your romantic partnerships and your, those romantic partnerships that you have, you can really hone in on those and do what you need to do to revamp that area of your life. You've been working on it with Saturn there over the last 2.5 years. But now this is the last time. This is the last ditch, because Saturn's going to be going direct next week. Saturn is heavy in the sky right now because he is stationing. So this is the last time that you get to revamp this part of your life for the next 30 years. So I would say do it. And now for Libra and Libra rising, this is a focal point on your 4th house. So there's a push-pull that's happening between you yourself with Mercury in Libra and Mars going retrograde in your 7th house. There could be arguments and disputes. There could be clientele issue. There could be things like that. And this push-pull is really being aspected by Saturn in square with those 2 planets. And he is stationing. He's going, you know, I mean, for some of you, this could be you being pregnant. Not to talk personally, but I have someone very close to me that recently found out that they're pregnant, and they're a Libra rising at the last decan of Libra. And so this is a want, a need, a desire, and a, you know, I'm very happy for this person, and it's very deserving. And so with Saturn here in the 4th house, for some of you Libras, especially those end degrees Libras, this is very much a need, a want, and a desire for home, family, children, you know, property, things like that. So there's this push-pull that's been going on where you're going to have to rethink your relationships to be able to come home to what you want to come home to. And this is your last ditch effort to do that, because Saturn is going to be going direct, moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius for the next 30 years. So by all means, really focus on what it is that you want to come home to, Libra. That's all. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this is focusing on your 3rd house. This is focusing on how you communicate, how you move about your community. It could be your cars, it could be your neighbors, it could be your siblings. And so what this is focusing there in your 3rd house in Capricorn because of the T-square, because of what's happening with the opposition between Mars in Aries in your 12th or in your 6th house and Mercury in Libra in your 12th house. So there could be you could be facing a crisis in terms of your health, your routines, your work, how you're showing up of service. There could be something that's being changed there. And also, you know, the karma from past lives, your addiction patterns in terms of with Mercury in its shadow period in Libra, there could be something that you're going to be revisiting in terms of 12th house institutions, ashrams, you know, churches, hospitals, prisons, things like that. And so there could be like, I mean, as a like bring it down to something that can physically happen. Maybe you're going to have to actually get a new vehicle because something happens and you're not able to go to work and you're not able to move about your community the way you need to move about. There could be that. But you've been really focusing on third house things, on how you're communicating, on how you're thinking, on your community, on, you know, you've been focusing on vehicles for the last 2.5 years with Capricorn being there. And what this is doing is this is a last ditch effort to really revamp this part of your chart for the next 30 years, because Saturn is going to be going direct and Saturn is going to be moving out of this sector of your life for the next 30 years. So I would say if third house things, your communication, your siblings, if maybe you've had fights with siblings, or, you know, there's an issue going on with one of your siblings, and maybe you need to show up in service of one of your siblings to help them with some type of an addiction, right? That could show up this way as well. So I would say, you know, focus on what it is that you need to do to be able to change how you communicate with people and siblings and extended family members. For Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising, this is this T-square is focusing in on your second house. This is your values, your self-values, your core values. This is your materials, your money, how you make your money. This is also a push-pull between your friends and your social circles and, you know, what you're doing and the groups that you're associated with, and those hobbies, your children, your love affairs, your sexy romantic partnerships, the things that you love to do because you love to do them. So there's going to be this really intense focal point on your values. Really, I mean, this comes back to values. This comes back to money. This comes back to material possessions. So maybe, you know, I would say definitely do not lend money to any, you know, romantic partners. Don't lend any money to any friends right now. And focus on you, focus on what you value, focus on what you want. You know, maybe too, there's going to be something that's going to go on where you're going to also possibly need to rely on other people's money, maybe your spouse or your significant other or your business partnership. Maybe you're going to need to rely a little bit on money coming in from them to be able to support yourself with that second house. And this is a last ditch effort. You've been revamping this part of your life for the last 2.5 years. This is it. With Saturn moving out of this sign, he's stationing to go direct next week. So this is very heavy energy. And this is the last time that you're going to be able to really focus and do this for this, the next 30 years. All right, so for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, this is focusing on you, Capricorn. This is your body, how you're showing up in the world, the legacy that you're leaving behind, what you come home to, your roots, your property, and your lineage. But you are the focal point, Capricorn. This is you completely revamping who you are and who you're showing up as in the world. And this is the last ditch effort that you have to do this. So work on it. You know, I mean, this next couple of months is going to be rough for you, but this is for you to understand that you needed to change something about your body. This is you understanding that you needed to change something about you yourself and how you're showing up in partnership, how you're showing up in the broader world, and and what you're coming home to. So this is really highlighting you and what you need, want, and desire to be able to live the life that you want to live. And this is it for the next 30 years, because after this, it's moving into your second house, and that's where the focus is going to go. Okay, so just be cognizant of that. For Aquarius and for Aquarius rising, this focal point is happening in your 12th house, and this can see a push-pull from your 3rd and your 9th. So this is the house of endings. This is the 12th house. It's the house of endings, of addiction patterns, and this can see, for some of you, I mean, this could see you losing some type of visa in a foreign country, maybe. Like this is really intense energy. So this is foreign entities in terms of, you know, where you are in the world. If you're traveling abroad right now and you are an Aquarius rising, make sure you have all your paperwork correct. Make sure you have everything that you need, because you could get kicked out of a country, or you could be locked into a country for the coming weeks ahead. This is also focusing on, you know, solitude, seclusion, our addiction patterns. This is revamping how you, this could be a push-pull between your siblings and travel. Maybe your siblings can't travel, but really this is you revamping your addictions and, you know, the things that you do unconsciously. So I would say for the Aquarius risings, you want to really focus on and get clear on those patterns that you have seen unfolding in your life in the last 2.5 years with Saturn in your 12th house, because you're coming through for a reset when it hits your ascendant. So this is a last ditch effort for you to do this and revamp this part of your life. For Pisces and for Pisces rising, this is focusing on your 11th house. And I'm sorry, I gotta log in here. This is you focusing on your 11th house. This is you focusing on your friendships, your social status, how you show up in the world. Maybe you have an online business that you've been working on, and now it's really coming to a head and it's getting really intense in terms of how you're making your money and other money that's coming in from other people. So maybe there's a push-pull here of where it is in your life that you've been focusing on your social status, on your friends, on your online community, on, you know, I mean, you're revamping your value systems. You're revamping what it is that you are doing and what you need. And I mean, make sure that you're getting your taxes done, right? So there's that too. But your 11th house, really, I mean, this could put you in a completely different stratosphere. This is also the money you make from your 10th house. And what this could be showing you is that you need to value yourself more. So that way the people that you surround yourself with will value you more. And I mean, this has been going on for the last 2.5 years in terms of, you know, in terms of Saturn being there. This is the last ditch effort that you have to really get this area of your life cleaned up and where you want it to be for the next 30 years. So this is a long-term thing. So focus on it, and it's going to come to a head, and it's going to be rough, and but focus on it, and, you know, make sure that you're doing what you need to do, because this is it for the next 30 years. Saturn's going to be going direct. It's going to be moving out of Capricorn, and it's going to be moving into your 12th house of Aquarius. So focus on what it is that you need to do to revamp this part of your life. All right. So stay safe, have fun. I hope you enjoy this. Like, share, subscribe. Bye.